There's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah, I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Dark and racist. That's how the media is spinning Donald Trump's historic 8-hour-long rally in Madison Square Garden, stoking fears while ignoring a giant flop by the Harris campaign in Texas. I'm Ben Swann. This is Truth in Media.
Believe it or not, people, I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this.
Well, that was comedian Tony Hinchcliffe on stage Sunday at Trump's rally in Madison Square Garden. Now, whether or not you find those jokes funny, they're just that. They're jokes. Let's not forget, he is a comedian, not a policymaker. The mainstream media, they're trying to stir the pot over this. Listen.
But that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally.
Figures invoking Hitler and fueling outrage, all while ignoring what's really happening. Like KamalaHarris almost being booed off stage in Houston when she tried to pull a fast one. Headlines hinted about an appearance and performance from Beyonce. Some outlets were even sending out links for fans to catch it live. But when Beyonce finally hit the stage, she didn't perform. She spoke for 3 minutes and left.
I'm not here as a celebrity. I'm not here as a politician. I'm here as a mother.
And then everybody realizes it was a bait and switch and they walked their butts out.
Well, too bad. 30,000 people showed up hoping she would be a singer. They thought they were getting a free Beyonce concert. They were not interested in a political rally. A lot of them were furious, and a bunch of them walked out. Harris, well, she was more than happy to show them the door.
See you later.
And today, the media wants you to be outraged over a comedian at Trump's New York City rally. This weekend was a crucial moment in the presidential race, and the contrast between these candidates could not be more stark. Democrats misled their own base just to hype up a rally, competing with Trump's big interview with Joe Rogan. On his side, Donald Trump took center stage in the most famous arena of them all, Madison Square Garden, and the crowd was electric. Why?
The first reason that people like Donald Trump is because he likes them. That's why. And it's real. Affection is something you can't fake.
You know who also thinks so? Muslim leaders in Michigan, a crucial swing state, who publicly endorsed Trump over the weekend for his plans to bring an end to the conflict in Gaza.
He promises peace, not war.
And this is the most important contrast between these two campaigns. You don't have to like Donald Trump, but he is very clear about what he plans to do. Specific plans to end the war in Ukraine, to end the growing war in the Middle East. And on the other side, Harris won't be specific about anything. Regardless of how you spin it, this was a nightmare weekend for Democrats, with Trump aggressively going after voters in places like New York City that Republicans have long written off. It demonstrates the power of his campaign. In fact, Trump looks like he may pull so many votes from blue states like New York and California that he could actually win the popular vote. That's something that has not been done by a Republican since 2004 and would be only the second time for a Republican since 1988. Well, joining me now to discuss is independent journalist and filmmaker Sean Stone. Sean, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So what do you make, first of all, of Trump's rally in New York City? We were talking about this here within our crew. I mean, you sold out Madison Square Garden, right? Filled it, I should say, and then had another 20,000 people outside. This is an area that Republicans wrote off decades ago, and Trump's like right in the middle of it, and he seems to be drawing incredible crowds.
Yeah, well, I think, again, that just goes to show who Trump is. I don't know why the Republicans wrote it off decades ago. As you know, Rudy Giuliani was one of the better mayors of New York history, especially in recent history. And he was a Republican, one of the only ones, as you know. We interview him in our docuseries, which we'll talk about. But Rudy, as we know, cleaned up New York, that he was famous for that. And people felt safer in New York as a result, from the 90s forward. That was part of also the boom of bringing more business there, cleaning up Times Square. Not to say that he did it alone, but it was part of that whole renaissance in a sense, right? And so the idea that New York is, totally just going to be Democrat. I don't understand why, again, Republicans, maybe at the time, they were more the party of big business. And I think Trump as you know, and we've seen, has changed the landscape, has changed the demographic, has changed the attitude of the Republican Party to say, hey, no, we are the party now of the middle class. And we can bring in the working class. Obviously, we want to be pro-American, and that resonates across. I think again across all traditional notions of the barrier between a Republican and Democrat. He's blurred those lines.
Yeah, he absolutely has. I also want to talk to you about this endorsement in Michigan. This is a very big deal. All these Muslim mayors who came out in support of Trump over the weekend, they said they had a meeting with him, came out of that meeting and said that they believe that Donald Trump is committed to ending this growing war in the Middle East right now. Now, he's already committed to ending the war in Ukraine, but that's a very big deal because one of the things that the Harris campaign has failed to do is put out any kind of plan to resolve what's going on. As a lot of people are concerned, we're headed toward World War III. To see Trump now taking those Muslim votes and the support of that Muslim community, that's a big deal for a Republican.
I mean, again, I don't understand why people think that he would be worse, for Palestinians than what we've already seen. What we've already seen is obviously butchery. It's been unbridled, terrorism in a sense by Israel, bombing civilians, destroying Gaza as we've seen. Not to say that not to say that the other side is right. I mean, I'm someone that really believes that you have to have peace between neighbors, but someone like Trump has advocated for that. I mean, that's the point. Look at his track record. His track record, with all these different peace accords that he was working towards, between the Saudis and Israel, between the Moroccans and other countries. He's someone that basically says, let's sit down and find terms that we can all agree upon. That's what you need in this time period. And just in all, I think across the board in politics in general, we've been stuck in this ideology of, well, we're always going to be pro-Israel, we're always going to be pro-NATO. And it's like, well, no, you got to question everything and say, how do we make things work, so that we can have a world with more peace. And as Trump has said, he's said on Tim Pool, I'm against war because it creates huge amounts of human casualty. It's bad for business. It destroys cultures and civilization. And that's the attitude we need for a leader, not the attitude of, well, we're going to commit to war because, Putin is bad or Hamas is bad or Taliban is bad. It's like, yeah, sure, we may not agree with a lot of these groups, but you still got to figure out a way to make peace without saying we're just going to bomb them into submission, which has never worked.
And yet we keep trying it over and over and over again. Let's talk about this docuseries you're working on right now. It's a 6-part series. You've worked on it with Tucker Carlson. Give us some insight. What is this all about, and what will people learn from it?
A back room. They say this is what happens when you work for Trump.
From about the moment Papadopoulos joins the Trump campaign, you got all these people all around the world starting to swirl around you.
Yeah, I mean, the series, All the President's Men, deals with this whole conspiracy going back to 2016 when, I don't remember if you were at RT, but I was at RT at the time. And this whole notion of Russian interference in the 2016 election, right, led to the Mueller investigation. But before that, as we know, there was the Operation Crossfire Hurricane by the FBI to investigate Trump's campaign. People like General Michael Flynn, Papadopoulos, Carter Page, and it expanded. That included, Roger Stone and Manafort and many others. And so our series basically shows the conspiracy was not by Russia to collude with Trump for the 2016 election. The conspiracy was really to paint Trump and anyone that was on his team that was in any way could be considered pro-Russian as Russian agents, and to basically, or agents of a foreign power in the case of Carter Page, and essentially to create a conspiracy of what one FBI agent called collusion clue, where if you just basically put any two people in a room and say, well, there was a Russian in the room, well, now all of a sudden we have a case for conspiracy that we can investigate and basically weaponize the judicial system, weaponize the FBI, weaponize the intelligence services, and abuse our normal process of how these investigations should have been conducted, as the Durham report finally pointed out in 2023 when it came out, right? It was the investigation of the FBI and seeing how these cases were open, basically saying this was a complete abuse of our system because the FBI agents were biased. They were biased, obviously, against Trump. Hillary was doing things like, her campaign was hiring Christopher Steele, who put together that crazy dossier with all these allegations about Trump being a Russian agent and his people being Russian agents, and none of that was substantiated. But the FBI was using that, to open FISA warrants and spy on people. I mean, so essentially, we are talking about the overall conspiracy in a 6-part series with in-depth interviews with Papadopoulos, with Roger Stone, General Flynn, Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, Rudy Giuliani, Kash Patel, Carter Page. So it's a really fascinating series, and it will show in an important way how deep this conspiracy went and what the real conspiracy was, which was the Clinton people, the Obama people, and then their allies and acolytes within the intelligence services, all the way through Trump. Like Gina Haspel, under Trump was a CIA director, and she was as bad as it gets.
Yeah, absolutely. And the crazy part about all of that is that regardless of the fact that over the last 8 years plus, almost 9 years now, that this conspiracy has gone on and been proven to be a conspiracy and proven false in so many ways, we're still living in the middle of it. We're still watching the FBI take action even this year, even in the last few months and weeks, still claiming, as recently as this weekend, in fact, that Russia's trying to interfere with the election because they made a Facebook video.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's this same concept that hasn't gone away. Where can people find the series? And again, it's called All the President's Men?
Yes, All the President's Men. The Conspiracy Against Trump is the subtitle, so that people don't get confused with the 1974 film. It's going to be on Tucker Carlson Network, and it's coming this week to the network. It was supposed to be out last Monday, so we're a few days behind, but yes, it'll be out this week.
Well worth the watch. Sean Stone, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And that is our show. You can catch all of our latest coverage on the race. Check us out on X at @truth_in_media. And you can watch all of our episodes right now at truthinmedia.com.